Hello, professor and classmates. The topic that we are going to develop today will be the direct method. This is a method that started in the 19th century and it was used by Berlitz. It is basically for teaching foreign languages without using the mother tongue. This is a method in which the translation is not allowed, and besides that, the teacher should demonstrate in many different ways the meaning of the word without saying it in the native language. The main purpose for the teacher is that the students will learn to communicate in the target language. It involves the association of words and symbols using gestures, dramatizations, and pictures.
With this method, it conveys the objective of facilitating the students' learning through good communication. Also, the interaction among teacher and students will be able to develop autosufficiency in which students will be able to correct themselves whenever they make a mistake, whenever they are writing or speaking. Also, it is important for the teacher to be constant monitoring the students, not only when they are working on a speaking activity, but also when they are working on a writing exercise. When thinking about how the experience is or how the experience goes, the teacher must facilitate every single tool so that students can use the target language within the classroom, and so that the language itself becomes more like a habit instead of an obligation. Also, the micro skills that students will be able to develop thanks to the help of the teacher. Also, they need to be speaking. It's okay if they make mistakes as long as they correct themselves and notice that there's something wrong with the sentence or the statement they just said. That's going to help them a lot. Also, within the classroom, it's very important not to use a mother tongue language. So the students need to avoid them as much as possible and try to communicate only in the target language, in this case, English.
Now talking about the principles, those are 10. So the first one is reading in the target language, then usage of images and objects to understand the meaning. Then native language should not be used in the classroom. Translation is not allowed. The students should think in the target language as much as they can. They should practice pronunciation and self-correction. It's very important, talking about grammar. So the students should be encouraged to speak as much as possible. Writing is an important skill to be developed from the beginning of the language instruction, and teach sentences and vocabulary every day. Then the goals for the teachers are, well, in this case, the students should learn to think in the target language. The teachers and the students, they have a role. So in this case, both are more like partners in the teaching and learning process. Some of the characteristics of this process is that teacher introduces a new target language word or phrase. The teacher demonstrates its meaning through the usage of pictures and gestures. He never translates to the students, and the students speaks in the target language a great deal and communicate as if they were in real situations. And besides that, there's going to be an emphasis in some language areas like vocabulary, listening, reading, and writing skills, and also the pronunciation. With the techniques, reading out loud that other people can hear you, question and answer session, student self-correction, conversation practice, fill in the blank exercise, dictation, map drawing, paragraph writing, oral communication, and language skills like reading, speaking, and listening.
Now let's review its advantages. This method favors communication and skills. Therefore, students get to practice pronunciation through imitation, intonation, and fluency. They also get to self-correct themselves, which makes them aware of their mistakes. Also, the classes become more interesting and the students more motivated because of the intensive oral practices and because the teacher talked is reduced. There is a direct relation between the form of the language and meaning, and as they learn to speak, they learn to think in the target language. But it also has some disadvantages. Due to the emphasis on speech, there are other skills such as reading, writing, and listening that are not well developed. Besides that, not all ideas can be clarified or explained through demonstration and visuals. Therefore, they are unclear. Then the success of this method depends on the teacher competence, which requires a proficiency that almost only native speakers can achieve. This method is not contemplating other or different learning styles and types of intelligence, and it tends to be unsuccessful in the early stage of learning. As we have seen, the direct method is characterized for the immediate delivering of meaning through demonstration and visual supports in the target language without recourse to the native one. Within this method, students have the opportunity of practicing the four skills. However, it is mainly focused on the oral production. It is important or necessary to restate that translation and lengthy explanations are not allowed under any circumstances. Consequently, the direct method is not suitable for all types of learners. However, this method can be adapted to satisfy the apprentice's necessities, but in terms of the teacher competence, is more difficult. It is more difficult because it cannot be adapted to the teachers. The teachers should adapt themselves to the method, which means that they should be extremely proficient in the language.
Now we have here the activity. So in the description, first the teacher starts the class saying, today we're going to learn how to read a map. Then he shows the map of England to the students. Then he describes the location of the country. And after that, he inquires the students to read a sentence one by one while he's pointing the places. Then he asks some questions to the students to encourage them to give complete answers. One of the students asks the teacher what an island is, so the teacher immediately draws one on the board. Besides that, he says, now it's time to practice the pronunciation. So he makes them to repeat the word island till they can pronounce it very well. So remember that in the word island, the S is not it's not pronounced. Additionally, the teacher follows the question and answer procedure again, but this time using the student's environment to practice the new grammar. Later on, the teacher projects on the board the next text with missing words. This is the fill in the blanks activity. And then he asks the students to take out a notebook to do a dictation. Talking about the procedures, the teacher projects the map on the whiteboard. He introduces the map to the students. The teacher illustrates the sentence by pointing the specific parts of the map. And then the teacher asks questions to the students, so they have to complete giving, they have to answer giving complete sentences. Then the teacher models the pronunciation and they have to imitate it. In the case of the students, they continue with the same question answer procedure, and then there is an interaction between the students. Then the teacher asks questions to the students again to practice grammar, and then the teacher projects on the board the fill in the blanks activity, and then he does a dictation.
Now the materials that you are going to need or that are needed for this activity are just a map, markers, a worksheet that is going to be projected on the board, and visual aids.
Thank you.